Orthodox cultivation+growth stream+female strength+no CP. The half-demon cub Luo Xiaobao was abandoned by his parents at the foot of the Xuantian Sect's mountain. Not being able to eat enough or drink warm, and being bullied, my tail is almost going bald. Until one day, she was picked up by the senior brother of Xuantian Sect and brought back home. Everyone thinks that this little demon has extremely poor aptitude and is just here to eat and drink. But soon they found out that the art style was different from what they had imagined. She was like a bug. In the elementary pill class, she wore a silly smile and refined an extremely rare 9th level pill. The problem is, even the teaching elders don't know this question. In the spiritual realm trial, she picked up a bag of small mushrooms with her small hands. Upon seeing it, the elder saw that it was an extinct divine level Lingji mushroom. The problem is, this spiritual realm is only at level 3, how could this thing be hatched? The cub scratched its head. Luck. Good luck keywords of the novel. Koi cubs soar by picking up leaks at the sect gate without pop-ups. Koi cubs soar by picking up leaks at the sect gate. Download the complete text. Koi cubs soar by picking up leaks at the sect gate. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Killing this half-man, non-demonic monster. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Killing this half-man, non-demonic monster. Kill this half-human, non-demon monster. Kill this monster. No, don't hit me, I'm not a monster. Please. Even though she begged in such pain, the sticks in those people's hands did not soften at all and fell down. Don't. Luo Xiaobao shouted as she woke up from her dream. Her yellow and skinny face was covered in tears, and she was so scared that she hugged her dusty little tail tightly. She curled up and looked cautiously at the dim environment around her before realizing that she was actually dreaming. She wiped away her tears and hugged herself tighter. She had no home, no parents, and lived alone in a dim cave. She was a half-demon little fox abandoned by her parents, dragging a tail without luster, wandering and hiding in the human world for 5 years. No one in this world has ever liked her, they all dislike her, calling her ominous and disgusting. But it's okay, her parents don't want her, she wants it herself. No one likes her, just like herself. She can work hard to live alone. Even the weakest grass can have its own brilliant spring. Wiping away her tears with dirty little hands, she got off the stone bed with firm eyes. Luo Xiaobao glanced outside the cave entrance, and it was dawn. It's time to work, otherwise I'll be hungry again. She skillfully tied her tail tightly to her waist with a rope, and layered the torn clothes she picked up onto her body, which not only covered her tail but also kept her warm. Winter has arrived, and the wild fruits in the forest are gone. She has nothing to eat, so she can only disguise herself and sell the firewood she picked up to dry overnight for a big pancake, which is enough to eat for a day. Although Luo Xiaobao is pitiful, she never steals or robs. She eavesdropped on the teacher's lecture from the window of a private school, saying that one should behave upright and sit upright. Stealing is a petty act. She doesn't want to be a villain, she has to rely on herself to support herself. In order to exchange more money, Luo Xiaobao picked up a lot of firewood, which was half her height when bundled up. She put down the firewood, struggled to carry it on her back, and stumbled down the mountain. The sunshine today is very good. The snow on the mountain path has melted, making it easy to walk and not as slippery. There were several times before when she rolled off the path, and when she stopped, the bundle of firewood also came loose and all the firewood was lost. She had to go back the way, pick up the firewood, and then go hungry all day. Fortunately, I had better luck today. At the foot of the mountain is Tongxin Town, which is bustling all year round. The crowds come and go with colorful expressions on their faces, but unfortunately, all of this excitement has nothing to do with her. She is a child abandoned by the whole world, and she is only worthy of living on the broken mountain far away from them. She saw those kids who used to bully her, so she deliberately took a detour and left them to sell firewood elsewhere. Even though Luo Xiaobao tried to disguise himself, he still recognized him with a sharp eye. As if he had seen something novel, his eyes immediately jumped and he patted several bored and stingy children next to him, following behind him. Luo Xiaobao was still ignorant. She struggled to find a suitable place to sell with the firewood on her back, without realizing that a group of children were following behind her, observing where she had hidden her tail. "Big brother, where did that monster hide its tail?" A curious child blinked and asked. The child, known as Big Brother, who led the way, wiped his nose and proudly said, "It must be hidden in her clothes. As long as we expose that monster, we will be the heroes here. Our parents will take pride in us and no longer think that we only know how to play for a day. Big Brother is right. So what should we do?" We all listened to Big Brother. The boy with a small leather hat was flattering attentively. The Big Brother enjoyed the feeling of being looked up by everyone very much, his eyes leaking, and he stared at Luo Xiaobao's back in a gloomy way. "Let's go. Follow her." A group of children followed Luo Xiaobao's footsteps in a noisy manner. The weather is good today, and there are many people who came to sell firewood. She is small and weak, and the firewood she picks is not as good as the woodcutters. She can only find a place with fewer woodcutters to sell it, so she can barely sell it. She almost wandered around Tongxin town, finally finding a suitable place. As soon as she put down the bundle of firewood, those annoying children gathered in front of her. Luo Xiaobao felt a little nervous in her heart, but in order to sell the firewood, she wrapped the cloth wrapped around her head tightly and boldly said, "A few brothers, do you want to buy firewood?" The leading child, Wang, kicked the firewood she had finally carried down from the mountain and said fiercely, "Stop pretending. Luo Xiaobao. You monster. How dare you come to Tongxin town? Look at me, I won't expose your true face today." The few children around agreed, "Yes. Yes. Expose her." Luo Xiaobao took a step back, feeling flustered and trembling, but she could only try to remain calm. "You, what are you talking about? I'm not Luo Xiaobao," she said. "Dear readers and friends, please read and comment on this book. It's really important. I hope that those who love this book can read and comment on it. It's really important for you to decide the fate of this book." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. That Freak. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. That freak. The Child King took a step forward and fiercely pushed Luo Xiaobao to the ground. "Stop pretending. You are Luo Xiaobao. Yes. Yes. Kick away her firewood. This monster is still trying to make our money," said the child Wang Huan, glaring fiercely at Luo Xiaobao. "Don't, stop kicking, please." The firewood was quickly scattered by the other children, and Luo Xiaobao tried his best to protect it, but it was still of no use. The rag on Luo Xiaobao's head was also hooked off by the firewood, revealing his thin and small face, as well as his 2 small ears. Luo Xiaobao hurriedly went to cover it, but was summoned by the Child King and stopped by other children. "I said stop kicking and you'll compensate me for the firewood." That was what she struggled to pick up from the snow all day, enduring the severe cold and freezing her small hands. Luo Xiaobao looked at them with hatred. She had already disguised herself as trying very hard, but she just wanted to live. Why is it so difficult? A pair of round eyes stared fiercely at the Child King like a fierce beast, and fiercely struggled to break free from the few children pressing against her, pushing the front child to the ground. She has always lived alone, so naturally her strength is stronger than theirs. These gold and silver treasures who have no worries about food and clothing will never encounter scenes of fighting wild boars with bare hands for survival. "You, how dare you push me?" The knocked-down child looked at Luo Xiaobao with a shocked expression. And as soon as the child Wang saw her face, his pride grew even greater. He hesitated for a moment and turned to shout, "Uncle and uncle, help. Come and see, that monster is here. She injured Kai Jinyuan." What? That monster is here. She dares to harm our child, as I said earlier, leaving her is a disaster. As soon as the child king finished speaking, a few big men picked up a suitable object and rushed over. As soon as Luo Xiaobao broke free from the children and ran a few steps, he was surrounded by those fierce big men in the middle. You monster, ominous thing. Who allowed you to come to Tangxin town? Take a look at Xiao Jinyuan, how are you injured? Someone shouted. Upon hearing this, Kai Jinyuan rolled his eyes and immediately sat on the ground with a painful expression on his stomach, saying, ouch ouch. Luo Xiaobao looked incredulously at Kai Jinyuan, who was lying on the ground pretending to be injured at the moment, with hatred in his eyes. It was clear that he had only pushed him. Everyone immediately panicked upon seeing it. I've already said that this monster can't be kept, but you want to save her life. Now that it's okay, she injured Xiao Jinyuan. What if? In the future. The person slapped their thighs and started crying out. If anything happened in the future, he didn't finish speaking, but everyone knew in their hearts that it would soon cause public anger. Killing this half-human and non-demon thing saves her from being restless all day long, harming the children and bringing in some dirty things to harm Tangxinchen. My pig died a few days ago, it must have been her who brought in the ominous thing. Everyone. The child king squeezed behind the adult's buttocks and peeked at Luo Xiaobao's terrified face, looking proud like a general who had just won a battle. Luo Xiaobao was forced to kneel on the ground, watching the group of people curse at her incessantly, as if she had done something unacceptable to the world. But she has never done anything bad, even if she is extremely hungry, she is only self-sufficient, risking herself to hunt rabbits and pick wild fruits in the forest to eat. She has never stolen anything, and she never disdains being a villain. But why do they just can't tolerate her so much and insist on putting her to death? Luo Xiaobao struggled hard a few times. She was not wrong, she just wanted to live. Why did they treat her like this? But with her strength, it is impossible to fight against those strong and sturdy young men. I don't know who it was, but a heavy stick from his subordinate hit Luo Xiaobao hard on the back. Luo Xiaobao's thin and weak body couldn't bear this blow. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unable to inhale it for a long time. Seeing Luo Xiaobao lying on the ground half dead, everyone was stunned for a second. They looked at the person who had started with a guilty expression, although their aura was getting higher and higher, no one dared to take action. That person, however, had no mercy at all. Perhaps Luo Xiaobao had dug into his ancestral tomb in his previous life, and he wanted to hate her so much. He raised the stick in his hand, his face contorted with flesh, and he felt a chill as he said, killing this monster, we can also be considered as killing the people. Who knows if she will seek revenge on us when she grows up? Yeah. She's a half-demon. Growing up is not easy, it's not easy for her to kill anyone. They have never treated her well, let her grow up and that's all. Everyone had confidence in their hearts, and their evil deeds were tinged with a hint of justice. They all held on to the matter in their hands and pretended to be righteous in eliminating harm for the people, saying, yes. Leaving her behind can only harm the people. Today is a bloody lesson. It's better to kill her, we are doing harm for the people. As they spoke, they raised the object in their hands and aimed it at Luo Xiaobao, smashing it down. Newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Take You Back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Take You Back. Luo Xiaobao collapsed weakly to the ground, her struggling eyes sliding over everyone's harsh faces, and she closed her eyes in despair. Why is it so difficult to live? She just wants to live, right? Stick after stick fell on her, the pain completely numbed her body, and her consciousness became increasingly blurred. Are you really going to die this time? Just then, a strong and powerful voice came from behind the crowd, stop it. At the same time, accompanied by an invisible force, she blocked the attacks that could kill Luo Xiaobao. The guy in his hand was inexplicably thrown away by a strong force, and everyone looked at Luo Xiaobao in terror. Is this calamity going to kill people? Stop it, the person shouted again. The crowd only then noticed the person behind them. They took a breath and followed the sound, revealing the person standing behind them who was trying to stop them from doing justice for the heavens. The person was dressed in white, with his ink hair tied high and coiled above his head. His clothes fluttered like a fairy, but when his gaze turned to his face was dull and immature. Seeing everyone looking at him, he seemed to be a bit nervous and not quite adapted to the gaze of so many people. His face turned red from the base of his ears to his neck, and he moved nervously. Mind your own business. The crowd didn't rest assured of this heroic fool and turned to face Luo Xiaobao. As the sticks in those people's hands were about to fall on Luo Xiaobao, Qingwu felt anxious and dared not touch them. At the last moment, he anxiously stomped his feet and shouted, "Stop it!" A gust of fierce wind and falling leaves, carrying stones and leaves, rushed towards the perpetrators, causing dust to rise and making it difficult to open their eyes. Everyone quickly raised their hands to cover their eyes and their mouths to cover their mouths. The crowd covered their eyes and poop, 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 poop for a long time. When the strange wind stopped, there were no figures of that fool and Luo Xiaobao. The cultivator. That person is actually a cultivator, one person shouted in great fear. Others were also full of fear. Only the person who initially started to coax spat and cursed, "Unlucky," before turning around and leaving. Everyone else, "You look at me, I look at you." Suddenly, my courage grew stronger and I cursed her a few times, saying, "She's lucky," before leaving. Qingwu ran desperately with the gasping little girl in his arms until he ran out of Tongxin town. His neck was already red, but after running for so long, his face turned red. He gasped for breath and placed Luo Xiaobao under a tree. "Little sister, are you okay?" Qingwu's voice was soft, although there was a slight pause of lack of confidence, it was very gentle. Luo Xiaobao was covered in injuries and weak. He struggled to sit up and looked gratefully at Qingwu, with tears in his eyes. "Thank you, big brother, for saving me," he said. Qingwu's face turned even redder and he dared not look directly at Luo Xiaobao. He stuttered and said, "No, it's okay, it's okay." Thinking of something, he exclaimed, "Oh," and blushed as he flipped over the small bag he had with him. He used to put some of the things he needed in this small bag. Although there was a Qinquan bag, he liked it more. Qingwu is very serious when flipping through things. Although he looks completely stunned and easily shy, he can give people a sense of peace of mind, as if as long as he is there, he is not afraid of anything. After flipping through it for a while, he took out a celadone bottle from his small bag and handed it to Luo Xiaobao. He nervously and anxiously said, "This is the blood-activating and muscle-generating pill. If you eat it, the wound will heal." "Thank you, big brother." Luo Xiaobao held back his tears as no one had ever cared about her. She was really sad. Watching Luo Xiaobao take the medicine, Qingwu finally calmed down. After thinking for a moment, he asked again, "Little sister, where is your home? I'll take you back." The tears in his eyes finally couldn't help but be shattered by Qingwu's words, "Send you home." Luo Xiaobao pursed his lips and couldn't bear the injustice in his heart anymore, crying loudly. Xiao and Xiaobao have no home. Xiaobao doesn't have any parents either. Qingwu panicked and hurriedly took out a handkerchief from her small bag, but could only watch as Luo Xiaobao didn't know what to do and had no way to start. Don't cry, don't cry. Once the grievances in his heart have an outlet, it's not as easy to say stop and stop. The more Luo Xiaobao cries, the more uncomfortable it becomes. "Why don't you come with me?" Qingwu didn't know where he had the courage, so he said these words without even thinking. Luo Xiaobao wiped away his tears and asked incredulously, "Really?" Afraid that Qingwu would turn back, he quickly said, "Big brother, please take me away. Xiaobao will be obedient and not cause trouble for big brother. Please help me. Xiaobao really doesn't want to die." Luo Qingwu remembered the scene when he saved Luo Xiaobao before, and looked at her bony body and injuries all over her, her eyes filled with heartache. A few tears were still hanging on Luo Xiaobao's cheek, and Qingwu had the opportunity to hand the handkerchief to Luo Xiaobao. However, he saw that Luo Xiaobao didn't take it and only looked at him with big eyes open in anticipation. He had to pick up a handkerchief to wipe Luo Xiaobao's tears. Until he helped Luo Xiaobao wipe away all his tears, he nodded solemnly and said, "Yes, I'll take you back to Xuantian Sect." Newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Cultivation of Immortals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Cultivation of Immortals, Where is Xuantian Sect? Luo Xiaobao widened his eyes, filled with anticipation. Xuantian Sect is a place where one can cultivate immortality, transform oneself, comprehend the Tao, pursue the law of immortality, and ultimately ascend to immortality. Cultivate immortality. Is it possible that as long as she cultivates immortality, she can become stronger, and no one can bully her anymore? She can also strive to live and pursue longevity. But Qingwu paused for a moment and said with a somewhat embarrassed expression, "I can only send you to Qingwu Academy first. If you want to become a formal disciple of the sect, you need to participate in the entrance examination. This depends on yourself." Luo Xiaobao quickly nodded in agreement, afraid that Luo Qingwu would back out. "Don't worry, big brother, Xiaobao will definitely do it." "Alright, you come back to the sect with me." Qingwu tried to touch Luo Xiaobao's slightly dry and rough hair, and smiled gently. Coincidentally, Xuantian Sect was recruiting disciples. Qingwu thought to herself that this time she would take Xiaobao back, and junior sister Roumao shouldn't scold him anymore. Luo Qingwu took out a paper boat from his small bag, and saw him pinch the formula with both hands and cast a spell. The small paper boat suddenly became as big as a house, and Luo Xiaobao's eyes widened in surprise. Feeling dizzy for a moment, Luo Xiaobao realized that he had been taken onto the paper boat by Luo Qingwu. Qingwu came out for training this time, and the training has just ended. He can catch up with Luo Xiaobao to participate in the entrance examination. Xiaobao is seated, we are about to depart. Luo Xiaobao was obedient all the way, and Qingwu was also very kind to her. The two gradually got to know each other, and Qingwu became much smoother when talking to Luo Xiaobao, and it wasn't as easy for him to blush. The paper boat flew over the sky, and Luo Xiaobao lay on the edge of the boat, watching the scenery on the ground gradually drift away from her. Her heart felt strange. She never knew that the sky and earth were so vast that it was unimaginable. The towering peaks rose and fell one after another, and the roar of beasts could still be faintly heard among the mountains and valleys. The mountains, rivers, and lakes are so beautiful and breathtaking. She looked enviously at Luo Qingwu in front of her, who was earnestly wielding his magic and moving forward on the paper boat, with his tall figure blocking in front of her. This is the first time someone is willing to stand up for her and protect her. She secretly told herself that she must strive to become a disciple of Xuantian Sect, then cultivate well, strive to become stronger, protect herself and protect her elder brother. 2 days later, the two finally arrived at Qingwu Mountain. Luo Xiaobao had never seen such a beautiful and imposing sect before. In the tranquility, there were hidden dark waves surging, and the momentum was brilliant and vigorous, with a strong feeling of rising from the sky and standing in the clouds. Luo Xiaobao blinked his eyes, becoming even more determined to stay here. Luo Qingwu. What did you bring back this time? This penetrating female voice came from the gate of the sect not far away, which frightened Luo Xiaobao and instantly aroused him to hide behind Qingwu. Qingwu took a deep breath and was ready to be scolded. As expected, a graceful figure rushed out of the door, crossed her waist, and arrived at Qingwu at the speed of light, beginning her usual scolding. Last time. You brought back a chicken. You said it was Aunt Li who passed away and no one was feeding her, so you kindly took care of it. Last time, you brought back a duck. You said you accidentally found it in the mountains and got injured. You need to bring it back to take care of it. Last time, you brought back a goose. You said, someone gave it to you because you plowed the land for them. Are you a cow? Dot. And up and up, up and up. Last time. What was that time? I can't remember clearly. Forget it, it's not important. Your small yard is almost turning into a farm. Roumao roared. She was so stunned that she didn't even catch a breath, and recounted Qingwu's glorious deeds for half a day. Who? Roumao exhaled a long breath and glared at Qingwu's flushed face before finally being able to stop. Then he lifted a delicate jade hand and pointed at Qingwu Ji, asking, Say, what did you bring back this time? Roumao junior sister, I promised you that this time I brought back, it's not a small animal. What else can that be? Roumao looked at him suspiciously. Ah. Maybe it counts too. Qingwu was stunned and didn't know how to explain. A fluffy tail peeked out from behind Luo Qingwu, her soft skirt squinted her eyes, crossed her waist, took a step back, looked at the small tail, and cleared her throat. Luo Qingwu quickly followed Roumao's gaze and looked down, my goodness. His face was already so red that it couldn't turn any redder. He felt embarrassed and touched the back of his head, so he moved to the side and revealed Luo Xiaobao behind him. Luo Xiaobao was frightened by the soft and innocent aura, staring at a pair of crystal-clear innocent big eyes, half opening his small mouth, and clutching his two small hands in confusion. He timidly shouted, Piao, hello pretty sister. This. Roumao opened her mouth and frowned as she looked at Luo Xiaobao, who was dirty all over, staring at him with big eyes. She looked at Luo Xiaobao with a somewhat disdainful expression on her face and questioned Qingwu, okay, now we don't bring animals, we'll bring half-demon children, right? Luo Qingwu was a bit flustered, looking down at the ground, afraid to face her soft pussy. Newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Luolv T. Qingwu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Luo, Green Tea, Qingwu Roumao couldn't help but coldly see the two drooping ears on Luo Xiaobao's head that were now afraid. Ears. And the ears. The soft catkin's eyes shone in vain. She has the least resistance to this cute and fluffy thing. Plus Luo Xiaobao's clear and transparent eyes, it's terrible. The little move, Ba, and child brought back by senior brother Qingwu this time. So cute. Although it's a bit dirty. At the moment when Roumao saw Luo Xiaobao's ears, her aura visibly softened, and her heart had already been sprouted. The matter of blaming senior brother Qingwu had already been thrown into the air. She looked at Luo Xiaobao without moving, suddenly wanting to pinch those two small ears. They looked soft, fluffy, and definitely easy to pinch. Luo Xiaobao couldn't guess Roumao's attitude, so he unconsciously moved his little ears. However, Roumao took a deep breath. Help. My ears can still move. The little person in Roumao's heart has already been shaking wildly with a big tree. So cute, so cute, so cute, so cute. Luo Xiaobao looked at her expressionless soft pussy and hesitated to take a step forward. He reached out his two little hands and softly called out, Sister. She is really afraid that she will be sent back to Tongxin town. Roumao felt like her nose was about to bleed. What a cute and adorable creature. She looked down at Luo Xiaobao from a high position, and the little person in her heart, starry eyes, watched as she reached out her hand. Wait. Damn it. Luo Qingwu was looking at himself with an expectant gaze. No way. We can't let him succeed. Roumao's hand suddenly stopped as she was about to touch Luo Xiaobao's little ear. She took a deep breath, took a step back, hugged her hands firmly, and said, "No way." Luo Xiaobao and Luo Qingwu were startled by the soft catkin, and Luo Xiaobao hid behind Luo Qingwu again. "Am I that scary? Little girl, you are no longer soft and cute in my heart." Humph. Roumao became sullen and didn't have much good temper towards Luo Qingwu. "Your little yard is not a farm, let alone a shelter. You can't bring her back this time, and Lord Renfeng won't agree. You'd better send her down the mountain." Luo Qingwu became anxious and said, No, we can't send him down the mountain. Xiaobao, he will be bullied." "Will you be bullied?" Roumao was stunned for a moment, and Luo Xiaobao's two big eyes were filled with tears as he secretly looked at her. His two small hands were still tightly gripping the corners of Luo Qingwu's clothes. She softened her heart and actually quite liked the little girl brought back by senior brother Qingwu. "By the way, junior sister, you can take Xiaobao to the Qingwan Academy in Haoshan. Uncle Huang will definitely accept her," said Luo Qingwu. "You." Roumao was stunned. How could she not have imagined that the despicable Luo Qingwu didn't mention it earlier and even made her become a bad person once? The little girl must have harbored resentment towards her in her heart, and Roumao couldn't tell what it was like on her face at this moment. "I wish I could beat Luo Qingwu flat and round on the spot." With a flirtatious expression on her soft pussy face, she said in a sullen tone, "You're running your mind fast right now. Junior sister, have you agreed?" Luo Qingwu asked excitedly. Roumao gave him a fierce glare, her gaze shifted to the side, and she said displeased, "What can't be agreed to?" Luo Qingwu immediately smiled heartlessly, then turned around and crouched down to face Luo Xiaobao, saying, "Xiaobao, junior sister Roumao has agreed for you to stay. Thank her quickly." "Thank you, pretty sister." Luo Xiaobao looked at Roumao noa. With her soft pussy pressing down on the corner of her mouth that was about to rise, she turned her head away from Luo Xiaobao and snorted, "Don't be too happy too early. Uncle Huang hasn't agreed yet. Stinky girl just avoided her, she's holding grudges." "Oh, yes, Xiaobao, let's go find Uncle Huang quickly," Luo Qingwu said, standing up in a hurry and about to leave. "Ah." Roumao looked at his expression and quickly called out to him, still stubbornly with a cold face. "Let me take her, you go back to Lei Lingfeng first. Ren Fengzhu is waiting for you." "Ah. Is that okay, junior sister?" Luo Qingwu hesitated as she looked at Roumao. Roumao took a deep breath and shouted directly, "Luo Qingwu. Just say one more thing, let's see if I'll beat you up today." Luo Qingwu scratched his head awkwardly and said to Luo Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, why don't you go find Uncle Huang with pretty sister first? Senior brother will come to see you later, okay?" Roumao laughed angrily at Luo Qingwu's pretty sister and cursed with a smile, "Get out of here." Luo Qingwu quickly left, leaving only Luo Xiaobao looking at Roumao with a bewildered expression. A gentle breeze blew by, causing several fallen leaves to roll past Luo Xiaobao's feet. Luo Xiaobao thought it was fun and wanted to kick, but didn't dare to move. Roumao eased her mood, put away a smile from the corner of her mouth, and pretended to be indifferent as she looked at Luo Xiaobao. "Let's go, why are you still staring?" Luo Xiaobao lifted his head and smiled pleasantly at her soft skirt, "Pretty sister, Xiaobao will be good." Roumao quickly turned her head, damn it, the old lady almost failed. She cleared her throat and didn't look back. "I didn't say you're not good, let's go." Luo Xiaobao quickly followed with short legs. Ro Ting took a few steps, then turned around and saw Luo Xiaobao running behind, groaning and groaning. She was an impatient person, but forgot that the little girl had short legs. She waited for Luo Xiaobao to come over, but no longer despised her, and picked her up. At the moment of picking up Luo Xiaobao, she paused, so soft newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Good Talent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Good Talent. She wanted to touch those two little ears, but then restrained herself and said coldly, "Why are you walking so slowly?" Luo Xiaobao covered his mouth and smiled awkwardly, hugging her soft neck. Roumao was stunned, but she quickly reacted and pulled off the small flower blooming above her head, holding Luo Xiaobao and walking quickly. Huang Shishu is a very strange old man who likes to scare children. He has a black beard on his face and always has a tense expression. When children see him, they are too scared to disobey. At this moment, Luo Xiaobao was holding his little tail and hiding behind Roumao, not even daring to show his head. Roumao's heart was much more balanced. "Huang Shishu, do you think we can keep her as a disciple?" Roumao asked. Just now she had already told Huang Baisong the whole story, but he remained silent with his eyes closed. "You come over." Huang Baisong opened his eyes and looked behind Roumao. Roumao quickly patted Luo Xiaobao's shoulder and led her to Huang Baisong. Huang Baisong reached out his hand and said, "Put your hand in the palm of my hand." Luo Xiaobao glanced at Roumao and slowly put his hand up in her encouraging gaze. Huang Baisong closed his eyes and drew a talisman with his right hand in the air, which flew into Luo Xiaobao's body in a tangible form. Later, Luo Xiaobao also closed his eyes. The spiritual power transformed into a long snake and penetrated into Luo Xiaobao's dantian. At first, it was foggy, and Huang Baisong could not see anything. Slowly, he could feel a warm surge of spiritual power, and a yellow faint light rose and appeared in the sea of Huang Baisong's consciousness. He nodded. The child was indeed quite talented. Just as he was about to exit Luo Xiaobao dantian, he suddenly stopped and there was still a ray of light. Unexpectedly, a rainbow of 7 colors leaped up, cutting through the sky with a fierce force. Huang Baisong was startled and withdrew from Luo Xiaobao's dantian. He squinted his eyes and looked at the seemingly naive 5-year-old child in front of him. After a moment, he frowned and didn't say anything, just waved his hand. Roumao didn't understand his meaning and asked, "Uncle Huang, can Xiaobao stay?" Huang Baisong waved his hand again, gesturing for them to go out. Roumao endured for a moment and asked word by word, "Huang Shishu, Xiaobao, can you stay?" "Ah." Huang Baisong opened his eyes and rubbed his head irritably. "It's possible. Damn you, can't you make me pretend to be mysterious?" Roumao ignored him and took Luo Xiaobao's small hand as she walked outside. "You're not mysterious, you're playing with a monkey," she said. "You." Huang Baisong said, "Yes, I'm playing monkeys." Just as Roumao walked out of the door, she exploded upon hearing these words, "Uncle Huang." Bang! The sound of the door being slammed by the yellow cypress pine responded to the soft pussy. Luo Qingwu stood not far away, hesitated for a moment, and quickly ran over. "Junior sister, how are you? Has Uncle Huang agreed?" "Agreed." Roumao was still angry and looked particularly displeased at Luo Qingwu right now. "You can take her to the back mountain yourself." "I won't go." "Ah." Luo Qingwu was still a bit out of state, not understanding why Roumao suddenly became angry again. Luo Xiaobao obediently followed Luo Qingwu again, but in fact, she didn't understand what happened to senior sister Roumao. Qingwu Academy is equivalent to the entrance kindergarten of Xuantian Sect, where all young disciples who are not old enough stay to learn Taoism and hone their character. When they reach the age of 5, they can participate in the spiritual root testing ceremony, participate in the entrance examination of Xuantian Sect, and become formal disciples of Xuantian Sect. But it's not just children from ordinary families who can enter Qingwu Academy. Qingwu Academy is specifically established for some big families. In order to enhance the trust and support of big families, their children can be sent to Qingwu Academy in advance to learn Taoism, hone their character, comprehend the Tao, and make their spiritual roots more pure. In order to protect the flowers and bones of various sects, Qingwu Academy was set up on the back mountain, which not only facilitates young disciples to go to the campus to watch and study, but also protects their safety. Luo Xiaobao followed behind Luo Qingwu step by step, curiously observing everything in Qingwu Academy with his big eyes open. The houses here are all so beautiful, even more beautiful than the largest flower tower in Tangshan town. Not only did Luo Xiaobao look around curiously, but there were also countless pairs of eyes staring at him here. Sixth Prince, look, another disciple has arrived. A young disciple said to the slightly chubby and dignified child beside him. The child, known as the Sixth Prince, raised his head towards Luo Xiaobao and confidently said, "Don't worry, no later than tomorrow, she will become the younger brother who is willing to follow me." Cut, childish. A little girl who looked equally noble beside her glared at the Sixth Prince and left with a small wooden sword. Luo Qingwu took Luo Xiaobao to find an empty room, and after delivering him, he squatted down and said, "Xiaobao, you're also tired today. You need to rest first. How about my senior brother taking you to Lei Lingfeng tomorrow?" "Okay," Luo Xiaobao nodded obediently. Luo Qingwu watched as Luo Xiaobao entered and closed the door before turning around and leaving. And a group of young disciples watched as Luo Qingwu left the gate of Qingwu Academy, and immediately notified Huang Fuyao. Huang Fuyao is the most favored youngest son of an emperor in the human world, and also the little tyrant of Huangfu Academy. Those who can be sent to Xuantian Sect's Qingwu Academy are either relatives of the imperial family or children of a large family. No one knows Huang Fuyao, and anyone who dares to provoke him usually obediently follows him. Luo Xiaobao sat on the soft bed, his buttocks not even warming up when the door was knocked on. She thought for a moment and went over to open the door. Newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Boss. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Boss. Outside the door stood a group of children about her age, all of whom looked curiously at Luo Xiaobao, sometimes at her ears, and sometimes at her little tail. When they saw her dirty face and clothes, they also felt a little disgusted. This made her suddenly think of the bear kids in Tangshan who were staring at her and bullying her. She couldn't help but feel a little nervous. On her first day here, she didn't want to cause trouble for Senior Qingwu. The only difference is that they have no malice on their faces, but she still has a cold face. Because Tangshan's children initially had no ill intentions towards her. Huang Fuyao was stunned when he saw Luo Xiaobao. This little girl is quite beautiful. If she doesn't want to be a younger brother, she can also be his wife. Huang Fuyao stuttered and said, "You're new here, maybe you don't know. Qingwu Academy has an unwritten rule that anyone who's new must compete with me." He pointed to himself with a thumb. "Yes. Let's compete." A young disciple beside him agreed. Luo Xiaobao didn't speak. "Take a look at him. Do you dare to compete with me in archery? 2 wins in 3 games, if you lose, you will become my little brother." Huang Fuyao raised his chin. "Archery. Little brother. So what did I win?" Luo Xiaobao asked in response. He seemed to have never thought about this question before responding, "If I lose, I'll be your little brother and you'll be my boss." "Okay," Luo Xiaobao said. Huang Fuyao was born with a golden spoon in his mouth, and everything he ate was the best. Even his horseback riding and archery were taught by the emperor himself, which enabled him to successfully win every provocation. This is also the reason for his confidence. Luo Xiaobao and Huang Fuyao, each holding a bow and arrow, stood in front of the arrow target on the school field, surrounded by a group of young and senior disciples watching the excitement. Being surrounded by so many people all at once, Luo Xiaobao felt a bit nervous, but she knew that if she lost today, she would continue to live in Tangshan town in the future, so she must win today. The game started. Wu Xiang'an, who had been following Huang Fuyao, acted as a temporary referee. Huang Fuyao glanced at Luo Xiaobao and calmly raised his bow, arched, drew, and arched. His movements were smooth and beautiful, attracting applause from a group of senior and junior disciples. 9 rings. Someone reported the number. Huang Fuyao lowered his arrow and proudly looked at Luo Xiaobao. Luo Xiaobao took a deep breath and learned from Huang Fuyao's movements to set up a bow. His movements were so standardized that no one suspected that Luo Xiaobao was touching the bow for the first time. She aimed at the position of the target's red heart, and when she fired the arrow, the bow and arrow made a buzzing sound. Luo Xiaobao himself was startled and tightly closed his eyes. However, the next second, she heard screams of surprise from the crowd, and took a cold breath. Is it over? Did you lose, right? 10 rings. Someone shouted incredulously. What? Luo Xiaobao quickly opened his eyes and saw that his arrow had not deviated or missed the target, firmly fixed in the center of the red heart. She was stunned herself. The arrow she had just shot was almost shot with her eyes closed, and it actually hit red heart. Not only her, but everyone saw that the new disciple closed his eyes and shot 10 shots. Luo Xiaobao's face remained expressionless, not arrogant or irritable. Just now, he was just lucky, which doesn't mean much. There are still 2 arrows left. Huang Fuyao's small face had already collapsed, and he reluctantly lifted the second object. His movements were more standardized and serious than before, and when he pulled the bow with a bold expression, he hit the target. 10 rings, someone shouted excitedly. Huang Fuyao's face improved slightly and he turned to continue looking at Luo Xiaobao. Luo Xiaobao looked around, her hands trembling a bit, but she still stubbornly raised her bow and aimed. This time, she still closed her eyes. With a long whistle, the arrow hit the target with a dull sound. Then, the whole audience fell silent. This time, no one reported the number of rings. Just as she was about to open her eyes and look for herself, she heard Huang Fuyao say incredulously. 10 rings. This time, Luo Xiaobao's mood was very calm. She didn't say anything because she saw that Huang Fuyao's eyes were red. She didn't know why she was so lucky today, but she didn't dare to be proud at all. The third time, Huang Fuyao may have been affected by his mood and didn't perform well, shooting 9 rings. Luo Xiaobao also closed his eyes and obtained the bullseye 10 rings for the third time. At this point, the people in the room were all quiet. Some senior disciples looked at the situation and said with a smile, "Children are playing around." They turned around and left. "I lost, you will be my boss from now on," said Huang Fuyao. He looked very down, maybe it was the first time he tasted the taste of failure. Ah! Luo Xiaobao and his followers exclaimed in surprise. "My father said, daring to act is the true man, I will do what I say." Huang Fuyao suddenly looked at Luo Xiaobao with excitement. "Sixth brother. I want to tell father," shouted a beautiful and noble little girl with red eyes. "Linger, don't interfere. This is a man's decision, and none of the 4 horses can be pulled back." Huang Fuyao's eyes were also red. "Sixth prince, it's hard to recall a single word." Xia Weizhen stroked his forehead and whispered in Huang Fuyao's ear. "That's right. It's hard to recall a single word," Huang Fuyao quickly corrected. Huang Fuling rubbed her eyes and ran away. Newcomers and new books, seeking support and recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Senior Sister Roumao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Senior Sister Roumao, did you hear that? From now on, you will be my boss and I will be your younger brother, said Huang Fuyao. Oh, Luo Xiaobao responded. She was a bit tired and didn't pay attention to them anymore. She turned around and went back. The other little attendants were all a bit confused at this moment, anxiously watching around Huang Fuyao. Huang Fuyao said, "It's okay, men are not afraid of winning or losing. One day, I will defeat her and regain my position as the boss." "Right, right. Boss will definitely do it." Zhao Wenchu quickly agreed and received an undisguised glare from Xia Weizhen. After Luo Xiaobao returned, as soon as he entered the room, he saw a beautiful red dress neatly arranged on the bed, with a note beside it. "For you. Soft catkin." Luo Xiaobao has never seen such beautiful clothes before. The exquisite patterns are lifelike, and the cold and smooth silk material feels very comfortable to the touch. She had only seen such clothes on the young lady of the wealthy master's house in Tongxin town. She lowered her head and looked at herself again. Pieces of rags stood out in this clean and bright room, and as she approached, she could still smell a foul odor. She frowned somewhat disdainfully, not blaming the strange looks in her eyes on the way back from the schoolyard to the house. Luo Xiaobao was extremely grateful for her soft skirt and quickly ran to take a shower with her beautiful new dress. As for that piece of rag, she mercilessly threw it away, just like throwing away her painful past. The next morning, Luo Qingwu came over and greeted Huang Baisong before taking her up Leiling Peak. Leilingfeng is located on the right side of the main peak, with Feng Director Bo in charge of rewards, punishments of Xuantian Sect. He has a fierce and impartial personality, and cannot tolerate sand in his eyes. When the sect leader Li Ming is not in the sect, Ren Bo manages various affairs of Xuantian Sect on behalf of him, who is also the deputy sect leader. Luo Qingwu is the eldest disciple of Lei Lingfeng, but due to personality reasons, he is often teased by other disciples. Luo Xiaobao followed behind Luo Qingwu and gazed in surprise at the scenery of Lei Lingfeng. Lei Lingfeng has abundant spiritual energy and a beautiful environment, and disciples practicing martial arts can be seen everywhere. And those disciples saw that Luo Qingwu stopped moving and respectfully shouted, "Hello, senior brother." Luo Xiaobao felt that it was okay if they didn't shout, but they became even more nervous after shouting Qingwu senior brother. Okay, you guys, okay." Luo Qingwu stuttered as he became nervous. Luo Qingwu's steps became faster and faster, and Luo Xiaobao was already unable to keep up. She almost followed half walking and half running, but fortunately, Luo Qingwu quickly noticed. He gritted his head and slowed down his pace, waiting for Luo Xiaobao to catch up. The disciples behind were all covering their mouths and giggling, but several didn't cover them and let out low laughter. Luo Xiaobao suddenly wanted to not understand Luo Qingwu's predicament. She shouted, "Senior brother Qingwu. What's wrong?" Qingwu stopped and turned around, squatting down to look at her. "Are you nervous?" Luo Xiaobao asked. Qingwu smiled awkwardly and whispered, "It's a bit." Luo Xiaobao gently touched Luo Qingwu's head and whispered, "Touch your head, senior brother, you're not nervous." Just as if Luo Xiaobao's hand had magical powers, as soon as he placed it on Luo Qingwu's head, he felt the inexplicable sense of panic in his heart calm down, and a warm current surged into his heart, like the sun rising from the top of Leiling Peak, warm and cozy. Luo Qingwu also touched Luo Xiaobao's head and smiled, saying, "It's much better, thank you, Xiaobao." "Senior brother Qingwu." A familiar and loud female voice came from afar. On the spot, all the disciples who had experienced the gentle treatment with soft hair immediately tightened their skin subconsciously, their muscles began to tremble uncontrollably, and their smiles froze on their faces. Before Luo Qingwu could react and turn around, Roumao was already a few steps away from him. Seeing the disciple who was laughing more unsightly than crying in the audience, Roumao stopped and calmly cleared her throat. The disciples all put away their smiles, and their swords were quickly hidden behind them. They awkwardly shouted, "Junior sister Roumao/senior sister." Without waiting for Roumao to scold, the group of people dispersed like fleeing from the plague god after greeting, as if there were some heinous ghosts following behind. Luo Qingwu. Luo Xiaobao. Humph. She patted her hands and proudly walked over with her chest open, as if she had solved some trouble. Junior sister, why did you come? Luo Qingwu asked. Roumao glanced at Luo Xiaobao and pretended to be aloof, passing by. She wouldn't admit that she saw Luo Qingwu and Luo Xiaobao rushing towards Leiling Peak from a long distance. Hello pretty sister, Luo Xiaobao said obediently. Now that Luo Xiaobao has been washed clean and put on the new dress she personally prepared, she looks particularly soft and cute. Roumao was clearly overjoyed in her heart, but she still had to hold it on her face. She pressed down on the raised corners of her mouth and said, although, you are now a preparatory disciple of Xuantian Sect. You can call me senior sister in the future. Well, senior sister, Luo Xiaobao sweetly called out. Her soft skirt didn't tighten and she smiled. It's really Luo Xiaobao's soft voice combined with her cute eyes that are too piercing, she can't resist it. And those two small ears that keep moving, she's been itching and wanting to pinch them for a long time. Seeking collection and recommendation, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Red Chicken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Red Chicken. She plans to temporarily lose touch, it's better to touch first. Luo Xiaobao obediently looked up at her and finally reached out to touch the two little ears that she had been longing for. Soft catkin satisfy. So soft, so cute, roaring in the end, Luo Qingwu spoke up and rescued Luo Xiaobao's little ear from her soft pussy. Junior sister, let's go to my place first. I have prepared some food for Xiaobao, said Luo Qingwu. Roumao finally let go of Luo Xiaobao's little ear with an unfulfilled "oh," and then took Luo Xiaobao's soft and fleshy little hand. Undoubtedly, it is a small courtyard called a farm by the soft catkins. As soon as Luo Xiaobao entered the door, he saw various small animals flaunting themselves everywhere in the courtyard. A stranger entered the small courtyard, and the animals lazily looked up before continuing to sleep and take a walk. However, Luo Xiaobao's arrival did not arouse any interest in them. I didn't expect that with Luo Qingwu's personality, the animals he raised were more carefree and Buddhist-like than him. As soon as Luo Qingwu entered his own courtyard, he visibly relaxed and breathed a sigh of relief. Luo Xiaobao saw the red chicken hiding in the grass at a glance. The chicken was hiding in the grass, and Luo Xiaobao couldn't see it very clearly. He just looked at it roughly. This is the only one she has seen in this small courtyard with a personality similar to Luo Qingwu. Luo Xiaobao immediately became interested and ran over, breaking free from his soft pussy. In just a blink of an eye, Roumao saw that Luo Xiaobao had already run to the ferocious creature in front of her, which frightened her and made her gasp for breath before rushing over. Xiaobao. Danger. That ferocious creature was rescued by Luo Qingwu from Phoenix Mountain. It appeared gentle and afraid of danger on the outside, but in reality, it was extremely fierce. As soon as someone approached, they immediately raised their feathers and engaged in battle. They would not stop until they were full of nagging, and no one except Luo Qingwu could get close to it. Even Luo Qingwu, after bringing it back, couldn't touch it and could barely get close. Several senior brothers were deceived by its appearance and wanted to catch it for stew, but those who were taught a lesson by it dared not approach Luo Qingwu's yard anymore. Before Roumao could rush over, Luo Qingwu was already the first to charge forward. Even if he was scolded by Xiao Hong, he would still protect Luo Xiaobao. Unexpectedly, the two of them rushed halfway and suddenly stopped their steps, looking at Luo Xiaobao with a surprised expression on their faces. Luo Xiaobao is touching it. Luo Xiaobao picked it up. The little red, who had a bad temper and would nag at a word, was now sitting proudly in Luo Xiaobao's arms with a proud and coquettish expression on her face. Luo Qingwu and Roumao supported their shocked chin with black lines all over their heads. After Luo Xiaobao picked up the chicken, he finally saw its appearance clearly. Its fur was very beautiful, with a dazzling red color. Senior brother Qingwu, this chicken is so beautiful, Luo Xiaobao smiled happily. Xiaohong. Chicken. The young master is a descendant of the phoenix. Never mind, for the sake of our fate, I will endure it. Luo Qingwu half opened his mouth, and it took him a while to react and touch the back of his head. Ah, yes, he. Luo Xiaobao gently touched Xiaohong's hair with his small hand. Xiaohong not only didn't feel disgusted, but also comfortably closed her eyes. Roumao finally realized it. Although Xiaohong was relieved that she didn't hurt Xiaobao, Xiaohong, you're too unfair. Who usually feeds you delicious food? Who helps you find spiritual fruits? Why can't I get close to you yet? Roumao pointed at Xiaohong, jumping in anger. Xiaohong glanced at her, fluttered her wings, and quickly jumped behind Luo Qingwu with soft eyes and hands. Xiaohong. Cut sample. Roumao looked at Luo Qingwu and Luo Xiaobao with an inexplicable expression on her face. She would never admit to her conditioned reflex and was scared by Xiaohong Dao. Luo Xiaobao rubbed Xiaohong's head with his small face and said, "So your name is Xiaohong, it sounds really nice." Xiaohong became even more proud and raised her blushing head even higher. Luo Xiaobao liked Xiaohong very much and kept holding her until she let go. Luo Qingwu and Roumao accompanied Luo Xiaobao to play in the yard for a while, until Luo Qingwu brought out delicious food from inside the house. Xiaohong crouched at Luo Xiaobao's feet with a gloomy expression on her face, watching him eat with great sorrow. She was like an abandoned woman coming to her door. Xiaohong. Ah, woman. Roumao watched as Luo Xiaobao ate, while feeling angry at the abandoned woman and ferocious object. She suppressed her laughter for a while. That's it. Before, the ferocious creature had always been fearless and ignored the kindness and likes of others. Now, when encountering a little ghost, it has finally been dealt with. Ha ha ha. Luo Qingwu watched Xiaobao eat happily, with a smile on his face. He didn't forget to wipe Xiaobao's mouth and add tea. Although Roumao sat away from them all along, her gaze never left Luo Xiaobao. She suddenly remembered something and let out a sigh, then walked over and sat down. Xiaobao, I heard you compared archery with that group of little brats yesterday. Roumao asked. Luo Xiaobao lifted his head from the pastry and nodded honestly. Luo Qingwu widened his eyes with some concern. How could it be? Xiaobao. Luo Xiaobao patted Luo Qingwu's hand and narrowed his big eyes. Senior brother, don't worry, Xiaobao won the competition. That chubby doll even said that I will be his boss in the future. Wow. Our little treasure is quite impressive, isn't he? Roumao praised without any disguise. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Descendants of the Phoenix. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Descendants of the Phoenix. She looked at Luo Xiaobao with a proud expression on her face. Someone should have come to dampen the spirit of that stinky boy long ago. She didn't expect this person to be Luo Xiaobao, truly a small group brought back by senior brother Qingwu. They should be so brave and fearless, invincible. Luo Qingwu was not very surprised. On the contrary, his eyebrows furrowed and he said for a while, really? That's good. Luo Xiaobao noticed something was wrong with Luo Qingwu. She blinked and said, is senior brother worried about me? Luo Qingwu touched the back of his head and smiled unnaturally, yeah. Although we shouldn't suspect our fellow disciples, we still worry about Xiaobao being bullied. Luo Xiaobao was stunned when he heard this sentence. From childhood to adulthood, no one had ever said this to her. They were all afraid of her, expelled her, or even wanted her life, but no one had ever worried about her being bullied. Tears slowly filled his big eyes, even forgetting to eat the pastry in his hand. Roumao had never seen Luo Xiaobao cry before. Now she was in a panic and didn't care much anymore. She sat down next to Luo Xiaobao and hurriedly took out a handkerchief to wipe his tears. Xiaobao, what's wrong? Why did you suddenly cry? Is the pastry not delicious? Roumao asked anxiously. Luo Qingwu felt uncomfortable watching Luo Xiaobao cry, and he could probably guess the reason why Luo Xiaobao was crying. Luo Xiaobao pounced into her soft pussy's arms, crying even more sadly. Even Xiaohong was startled and flew to Luo Xiaobao's lap, flapping her wings to look at her. Roumao glanced at Luo Qingwu and guessed his expression. She hugged Luo Xiaobao and didn't know what to say, so she could only gently pat her back to comfort her. After Luo Xiaobao's emotions stabilized, Roumao accompanied her and ate some more food. It wasn't until it was almost time that she reluctantly wanted to take her back. Luo Xiaobao touched Little Red's head in his arms and placed it on the ground. Xiaohong didn't know why, so she swaggered along with Luo Xiaobao. When Luo Xiaobao turned around to look at Luo Qingwu, he realized that Xiaohong was following behind him. Ha! Do Xiaohong want to go with me? Luo Xiaobao bent down and picked it up. Ah! Luo Qingwu looked at Xiaohong, somewhat surprised. He knew that Xiaohong liked Luo Xiaobao, and now it even wanted to follow him. It seems that this is their fate. Luo Qingwu smiled and looked at Luo Xiaobao with a loving expression, saying softly, since Xiaohong likes Xiaobao, please ask Xiaobao to take care of it. Luo Xiaobao had no idea that senior brother Qingwu had given Xiaohong to her. His already round big eyes widened in an instant, and he asked in surprise, really? Senior brother Qingwu. Really, if Xiaobao likes it, give it to Xiaobao, Luo Qingwu said with a gentle smile. Luo Xiaobao was almost ecstatic. She couldn't put it down and hugged Xiaohong with a happy smile, thank you, senior brother Qingwu. Roumao looked at Luo Xiaobao and Xiaohong with a hint of jealousy, feeling as if they had betrayed her and left. Luo Qingwu and Roumao sent Luo Xiaobao back to Qingwu Academy, and then left. Along the way, there were complaints from Roumao, saying that Xiaohong had no conscience, and Luo Qingwu smiled but remained silent. Each preparatory disciple of Qingwu Academy has their own independent room, after all, they are all children of big families, and the arrangement is definitely the best. Luo Xiaobao's small house is located in a bamboo forest, surrounded by a cool and beautiful environment. There is also a faint bamboo fragrance that occasionally wafts into the house from the window, which is refreshing and refreshing. She never thought she would have her own house, as she used to live in caves. Luo Xiaobao shook his head and went back to the distractions in his mind. Everything in the past was like smoke and clouds, it's already gone. She gently touched Xiaohong's head and carried it into the room. Hello, little girl. Suddenly, a sound came from inside the room. Luo Xiaobao was startled and quickly looked into the room with caution. She searched every corner but did not see anyone else present. That sound is not an illusion, is it? Who? Luo Xiaobao tentatively shouted. Little girl, it's not an illusion, it's me, the voice recalled once again. Who the hell are you? Come out. Luo Xiaobao took a step back, tightly leaning against the door. One little hand hugged Xiaohong tightly, and the other little hand picked at the crack of the door, ready to run out at any time. You let go, you're almost strangling me. I'm Xiaohong. Although it really doesn't like this name and thinks it lowers its status, it has to admit it at this point. Xiaohong. Luo Xiaobao suddenly looked at the red chicken in his arms and almost couldn't resist throwing it directly. Fortunately, Xiaohong guessed her thoughts in advance and shouted, "Don't throw me." Luo Xiaobao. Xiaohong, are you talking to me? Luo Xiaobao was stunned for a moment, then ran over with a surprised expression and placed it on the table, carefully examining it. Xiaohong stood proudly on the table, nodded at Luo Xiaobao, and said, "It's me." Luo Xiaobao was even more surprised now, with his big eyes wide open. Xiaohong, you can talk. Xiaohong looked proud and said, "Of course, I am a descendant of the noble phoenix, and of course I can speak." Descendants of the Phoenix. Seeking to collect, comment, and recommend a triple item smiley face. End of this chapter.